Next up in the workshop, we're going back to the 90s. Sort of. It's Starcraft, the tabletop board game. Hello guys, welcome back to the workshop. We are working on a Starcraft miniature. Now, Starcraft has had other board games in the past. This is the newest one. This one comes from Archon Studios and of course Blizzard Entertainment. The miniature that I'll be working on today is Zeratul. It's kind of it's a Protoss miniature, and that's what their paint job looks like. I'm gonna try and replicate it, but we'll see how we do. And there's Zeratul. He's a promo miniature that you can only get from mail order or from going to a convention where Blizzard Entertainment or Archon Studios has a booth set up. So, I managed to get one. So we are going to start, and as you can kind of see, I've broken it down into a little bit of sub-assemblies here. We have the main body of the miniature. And yes, it's very cool. There are some clear parts that we will need to deal with. And that's okay, because that'll be fun. The base, which has a Zerg skull on it, right there. Which will be interesting to do. And then, of course, the head, which will keep separate, so we can get into all the nooks and crannies and everything like that, and the cape. Now, one of the things that is really cool about this miniature anyway, is that it comes with a secondary miniature that you can use instead of the one that you need to paint. And I've put it all together, but it's a clear version of Zeratul. And since there's nothing that I'm going to paint, I just basically built him all together. And if you want, you can put him on the base and have a cloaked version, I guess. But as it is, I still have to get some of that. As it is, I'm going to go with the painted version and just kind of keep the clear version off to the side as it's kind of cool, And so let us begin. And we are going to begin with the base. So we're going to take the base here. And for the rock and everything that's all in here before we get to the Zerg is going to be colored with Mechanicus Standard Gray. Again, most of the paints that I use are always Citadel paints, or now Warhammer Color. But since everything that I have here on my wall is still Citadel paints, we'll just kind of use that term. Okay, now let us look for a good, decent basing basing brush. Do I have one? Let us see. Monster brush will kind of do. Puts a lot of color out real fast. So let's use the monster brush. And we're going to put gray on the table here. And we're just going to start filling in. And if we get it on the Zerg, that's okay, because we're going to paint it up and clean it up later. So right now it's just getting color in the proper spots. Now, I used to play this game, way back in the day, and not on a board game, on a computer. And now I'm kind of excited to see how the new board game plays. I mean, the original game, if you have the original computer game, if you haven't played it, it's kind of a resource management. You go out and you find resources and bring it back to your encampment. And you build different things, like you build army units, or you build different base units, you upgrade, but it all takes resources that you send your send different things out to go and get. And in the beginning there was only 3 different races to play. The first race is the Protoss, which is an alien race. And you have the Zerg, which are kind of like kind of a cross between Tyranids and aliens, I guess. And then you have the human race, which is kind of like Space Marines from Warhammer. Kinda. Not exact. But, kinda. I've got the rocks mostly base coated. What I'm trying for is a nice, relatively even coat. And if that means working things a little bit longer, then it just means working things a little bit longer. And unfortunately, I do not have a rundown of how this game plays because it is a Kickstarter. And I know very, very little about it, which is unfortunate. Starcraft kind of brings back memories of staying up late on my computer and playing this. Oddly enough, one of the Blizzard's other property, Warcraft, was never really one of my things. I'm not a huge fantasy person. Doesn't mean I don't like certain fantasy, but you know, it is what it is. But when they came out with Starcraft, I'm like, oh, they have a sci-fi version? Well, okay, that's let's see what that's like. I'm not sure if I got any of the expansions for it, but I know I played the base game for a while. Alright, so that one's pretty much dry. Then what we're going to do is we're going to give it a wash of Nuln oil. Buoy. To help bring out the shades. Then we're going to set that off to dry, and then we can start working on another piece. And the great thing about this is you can just literally slather it on. Work it around. Get it all in the nooks and crannies. I'd work on other parts of the base, but it's going to be so wet from the rest of it that it's just gonna, it's just better to leave it and let it dry. Okay. And we're just going to put that off to the side. And just let that dry up. So in the meantime, let's work on the face. Now, of course, I am just looking off of the picture that I have in front of me. And I'm going to try and replicate the colors. But you know, you guys can look with me too. Let's go to my blues. Let's see what we got. Or maybe gray? Okay, so we are going to start with the fang, which is kind of a bluish dark gray. And it looks like it's a good possible start. To scan. All I'm doing is just making sure that I've got a nice, smooth, even coat. Alright, and then we're going to pull out the the body, because there's lots of skin to be put out, to be painted out. And of course, if I mess things up, all I have to do is just go back or go forward to the next color and cover over it. And so far I'm kind of liking how this skin tone is starting anyway. And, you know, you make a mess, or you mess something up, you just go back to the color before, or in this case, you just go on to the next color and tidy it up. And I'm not worried about making messes right at the moment. And we'll see how things go and progress. I think it'll look pretty darn cool when he's all said and done. It's interesting trying to figure out what's bandage, what's skin, what's armor. And, you know, again, if I mess up, I just go back and figure out where the mistake was. And try and figure it out. And I could have left so much of this guy just not built, which probably would have been, you know, a little easier. Or, you know, what I've done with some of it is, you know, prime it and then pull it apart. Again, like I said, if I paint over stuff that's not supposed to be that color, I either just go back or go forward to the next color. Now this time I am trying my best to copy the colors that are on the box. As you know, I'm not painting this necessarily for me. I'm not painting this for somebody else's army, and they tell me what colors they want. But I'm painting it as an example of what the miniature is. And in this one, we are going to try some OSL, or object source lighting. It's not something I'm terribly good at, but if you don't try, you'll never get good at it. And plus, I have a beautiful picture that I can look to. Okay. So that's going okay. And one of the reasons why I left the cape or the wings, I'm not really sure what you want to call it, but to me it's a cape. One of the reasons why I left those off is because if you look on the clear miniature, it's kind of, you can see that they're really close together, and getting in to do some of the work on the inside, and possibly even underneath, will be extremely hard. So for me, the best thing is to leave them off, or use blue tack, and kind of tack the wings or the cape on to find out where your things will, where your lighting will be, where your shadows will be, stuff like that. I don't really see much in the way of shade, but we're going to shade them anyway. Wonder what a good shade for that color would be. Let's think about this for a minute, and we'll see if we can come up with a good shade for them. So we've got the head that's coming along, and we got the body, which has parts. Yeah, that's right. Put the thing on the paint. That's what you want to do. And then, of course, the base is coming along nicely, but we're letting it dry before we get into working it. You can kind of see up close. Yeah. There's the face, and then this is kind of a mask that covers it, and it's nice and long. I find that most of his clothing, if it's cloth, is a purple, and it's almost an orange kind of thing for the hard armor. And then there looks like it's got some glass in it or something, and it's green. So let's do that. So taking the body, which going to use a color called Tesseract Glow, which I think will be an excellent color for the energy blade that he has. Now this stuff you have to shake the living crap out of in order to make sure that it's good. You know what? Hold on. Ooh. Yes, hold on one moment. What I'm looking for are these. They're mixing balls from Army Painter. I hardly ever take price tags off of anything. As you can clearly see by that. So what you do, you pop that open, take the ball, you pop open the paint, take the mixing ball, just drop it in, and then when you shake it, you can hear it. It'll help mix up your paints. I mean, you can also get a thing that save your arms. You can get a thing that you just kind of put it on the edge and it just vibrates, and if you have a mixing ball in it, it's that much better. Unfortunately, the paint slinger does not have one of those, so I have to do things the old-fashioned way and do it by hand. Okay. And now, what we're going to do is we are going to take a base coating brush, and we are just going to take the Tesseract Glow, kind of put it in the base, just kind of flick it out. And then we're going to turn it over. Kind of do the same thing. And you can work the work the glow. And build it up. There you go. That's really it. Not much to it. I might go over it with something else to give it just a little bit of more definition. But for the most part, you got what you got, which is pretty decent. And I do love the clear parts, cleaning the clear part or painting the clear parts, because they're a lot of fun. They're nice and they're translucent. They make like magic effects or water effects. Like one of the miniatures that I had kind of, oh, it's one of those days. One of the miniatures that I have been working on is a dolphin kind of on a sploosh of water. And the sploosh of water, when it came, was just clear. So I just took a nice translucent blue and did that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up, you know, the white foam and pull out some of the other highlights and stuff like that. But for the most part, that's it. You know, boosh, there's your water. It's the translucency that is a lot of fun to work with, that I really like. So, I mean, you can kind of see when I put it into I kind of put it in the light, how it, you know, kind of gives that glow. And then I'll hit it with an even brighter green and bring out some of the fine base details. Okay. Now we can move on to some of the purple. And just trying to figure out what kind of purple to use. I don't have too many purples, but I do have a few. So we're going to start with Nagaroth Night, which is actually a nice, decent, dark purple. And actually we're going to kind of use that same base brush that we used for the green. Just put some purple on the palette. And now remember, we're gonna do some object source lighting, so we're gonna do green over top of this purple later. And we're going to do purple on the cape later. Right now we're just going to kind of deal with the loincloth. Uh, and then, of course, when we put the cape into place, we will get to see what will take some of the green light and what will not, because I don't have a full 3D workaround, or a full 3D, workaround or look around, I guess. I am going to make a guess on some of it. And sometimes the guesses can be one of the funnest parts. Because you get to kind of, that's where you get to kind of wing it on your own, and you kind of make it a little, make it yours. Also, doing the cloth and then doing the color over top allows for some of the original color to hopefully peek through as it would in real life. Yeah, well, we're gonna call that for a moment, and we're gonna go on to his mask. Hopefully there we go. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna do the cape parts later. We're gonna figure all that out later. So in the meantime, we're going to let that dry up a little bit. The base is almost completely dry, which is great. And if you don't have the time, or you don't want, you know, if you don't want to take the time to just set it aside and work on something else, but you want to keep going, you can use a hairdryer to dry up your shades, or even to dry up your paints, actually. But usually acrylics dry really fast. You shouldn't really need the hairdryer for that, but you could use it for the shades. You could use it for your primer. When you prime a miniature, you should leave it for, now, they recommend an hour. I find that about half an hour is about what you need. But if you want it nice and good and solid, leave it for that hour, or hit it with a hairdryer, and away we go. So that's the purple, but we'll come back to some of it later. Alright, we are starting to turn a miniature from your gray plastic into something that will look fantastic. Now, of course, the nails on him, both his toenails and his claws, are kind of showing like they're black, but we'll worry about that later. I'm not going to worry about that right now. But one thing that we can worry about is I am going to take my not black, otherwise known as Corvus black. It's almost black, but it's a super dark gray. Actually, that was a really good... maybe not. Maybe I'll take this one. It's my super thin oil paint. You know, I used to use nothing but Citadel brushes, and it was alright. But now, since I've started using different companies' brushes, I have found that my miniature painting has become much better. So what I'm doing is I'm painting the hair, the braided hair, kind of an off black. To help give it a little bit of highlight right off the hop. But, you know, things will happen. We're going to give it Gonna give it a wash of Nuln Oil to bring in the shades inside the braids. And then we're going to take the Corvus Black again, and we are just going to highlight kind of the tops of the braids. And that's probably where we're gonna stop for today. And when we pick it back up, everything will be dry and ready to go for the next stage. There we go. Now we let that dry for a minute. Okay. There we are. Actually, we're not even going to do the wash today. We're going to tidy up a little bit because it's try and keep your workspace tidy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't, but that's okay. We're not going to worry about that. Well, we have started Zeratul. There's no H, so it's Zeratul from Archon Studios and Blizzard Entertainment for the Starcraft Tabletop Miniatures Game. They are going from video game to board game. Alright, so in the meantime, stay safe, be safe, most importantly, paint safe, and we'll see you next time in the workshop.